Welcome back to the deep dive.
Okay, today we're diving into something pretty fundamental, I think. What is it that really drives those huge shifts, in our own lives or even across whole societies? Is it just about having power or loads of money? Or is there like something else going on, something kind of invisible?
That's a great question to kick us off. And I think, yeah, the answer often lies in this really interesting mix. It's about deep personal conviction, definitely, but also how you use language strategically.
Mm.
And maybe most importantly, just having the guts to actually act on it all.
Right.
When those things come together, it's like, well, you called it an architecture. I think that's a good way to put it. It's a blueprint for making a real impact.
And what a blueprint. We are really going deep today. We've pulled together insights from, well, all over the place. Ancient Greek thinkers like Aristotle, Stoics like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius. Then you've got American civil rights pioneers, people like Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Frederick Douglass.
Martin Luther King Jr., of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then more modern figures too, right? Like Earl Nightingale, Tony Robbins in the self-help world, even researchers like Brené Brown and someone like Kurt Vonnegut offering commentary. It's a mix of speeches, manifestos, philosophy, psychology.
Hmm. And our mission really is to break down what makes these people and these movements so influential. How do they inspire action? How do they actually create change? Whether that's, building personal success, fighting for justice, or just figuring out your own path in life. The surprising thing is how universal these ideas seem to be.
It's fascinating. So get ready for a journey that should hopefully shed some light on how thoughts can sort of become reality, how words spark movements, and how your own sense of purpose, if you really clarify it, can actually start to reshape the world around you. It's not just theory, it's about the mechanics of influence. Okay, let's start inside then.
Yeah.
With this thing Earl Nightingale called the strangest secret, this core idea, we become what we think about. Now that sounds maybe a bit simplistic, like something you'd see on a poster.
Right. It does sound simple, and that's exactly why he called it strange, because it's so obvious once you hear it, but most people just don't really live by it. He wasn't saying it was his idea, though. He stressed that this was something agreed upon by, like, all the great thinkers throughout history.
Okay, so who are we talking about?
Well, you've got Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, right? He fell out said, a man's life is what his thoughts make of it. That's pretty direct.
Yeah.
Then centuries later, Disraeli, the British prime minister, he said something similar, that a person with a settled purpose must achieve it, that nothing can stop a will that's truly committed.
A settled purpose. That sounds key.
It is. And Emerson, the American writer, put it so concisely. A man is what he thinks about all day long. Your thoughts literally build who you are. And William James, the psychologist, he discovered that we can alter our lives by altering our attitudes of mind. He even said, if you really, truly want something, to be rich, learned, good, whatever, and you want it exclusively, you'll probably get it.
Exclusively.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's not just wishing, it's focus.
Intense focus. And the power here is that our internal world, what we're constantly dwelling on, it's not passive. It actively shapes our external reality. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale talked about this too.
The power of positive thinking guy.
That's him. He said, basically, think negative, get negative results. Think positive, get positive results. He called it a great law, like gravity. It's about self-fulfilling prophecies too, right? If you expect to fail, you'll probably act in ways that make failure more likely. If you expect success.
You keep trying, you'll see options. Okay, I get that. But how? If thoughts are so powerful, how do you actually harness that? How do you actively, define your destiny instead of just hoping?
Right, that's the practical step. And this is where goal setting is crucial. Nightingale's advice was super concrete. Get a definite and clearly defined goal. Write it down on a card.
Like an actual physical card.
Yeah, an index card, whatever. Look at it multiple times a day. First thing in the morning, last thing at night. The key is single goal and clearly defined. That constant repetition, it starts to, program your subconscious. It directs your focus.
And Tony Robbins builds on that, doesn't he? With his formula, it's not just thinking.
No, absolutely not. Robbins makes it very active. Step 1, know your outcome, crystal clear, just like Nightingale said. But then step 2, take massive action. Don't just sit there visualizing. Do stuff, a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Then step 3, notice what's working or not. He calls it sensory acuity. Pay super close attention to the feedback you're getting. Are people responding? Are sales going up? Are you getting closer? Be observant.
Like reading the room, but for everything.
Exactly. And finally, step 4, flexibility. Keep changing your approach. Adapt. If something isn't working, try something else. Keep tweaking until you get the result you want. Use setbacks as information, not defeat. It's a dynamic loop. Goal, action, vec, feedback, adjust, action map.
That sounds exhausting, but
Yeah.
also effective. It's about being an intelligent doer, not just a thinker.
It is. And Robbins also links this back to values. He says decision-making boils down to values clarification. If you know what's really important to you, your core principles, making choices becomes way simpler. You just filter everything through those values.
So that helps you set the right goals in the first place. Goals that actually mean something to you.
Precisely. It ensures your goals aren't just random, but deeply aligned with who you are. That gives you the drive, the resilience. So it's this combination. Clear thought, massive action, sharp awareness, flexibility, all guided by your core values.
Okay, that's a powerful framework for personal success. But is that the whole picture? Is this inner blueprint just about getting what you want? Or is there more to it, like a bigger purpose?
That's a really important question. And yeah, thinkers like Kurt Vonnegut push back against a purely self-focused approach. He said, quite bluntly, that what we really need is to become less selfish than we are. He didn't think we needed, bigger brains or more knowledge to make the world better. Just less selfishness.
Yeah. He even brought up Thomas Aquinas's 7 spiritual works of mercy, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, visiting the sick. He said those simple acts of compassion are still totally relevant no matter how advanced we get technologically. They're about basic human connection and service.
So a truly strong inner blueprint might actually combine that personal drive with a sense of contributing. It's not either, maybe.
Exactly. It suggests that real fulfillment often comes when your personal ambition is connected to something bigger than yourself. When you find your own acres of diamonds, maybe some of those diamonds involve helping others find theirs too. Speaking of acres of diamonds, let's unpack that idea from Russell Conwell, that lecture he gave thousands of times. It's all about finding wealth and opportunity right where you are.
Yeah, it's a classic. His main point, there is wealth right within the sound of your voice, meaning it's close by. In your community, your skills, your network. And he tells this incredible story to illustrate it.
The farmer looking for diamonds.
That's the one. This farmer in Massachusetts, totally convinced the real riches were somewhere far away, sells his farm, goes off to become a mineralogy professor, always looking all the way off for diamonds.
Okay.
The irony, the guy who buys the farm, he's out digging potatoes one day, pulls his basket through a stone fence near the gate, and bam, hits a massive block of native silver 8 inches square, right there in the wall. The original farmer had probably leaned against that wall, sat on it even, maybe while making the deal to sell the farm.
No way.
Yes. And later, the famous Kimberley diamond mines were discovered on that same property. The guy who knew all the theory about minerals literally walked away from fortune right under his feet because he was looking somewhere else.
Wow. That really hits home. We do that, don't we? We think the great job, the big opportunity, it's always somewhere else.
We often do. We overlook what's right in front of us, our current situation, our local connections, the problems right here that need solving. We romanticize the distant and dismiss the familiar. Conwell's point is, shift your focus. Look closely at where you are now.
And he connected this to business ethics too, right? With the story about the jackknives.
He did. It's a great little anecdote. When he was young, working in his father's country store, people kept asking for jackknives, and he just kept saying, nope, don't have them. Didn't occur to him to maybe, stock them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basic business sense.
Right. And he uses this to make a bigger point. The foundation of godliness and the foundation principle of success in business are both the same, precisely. For him, running a business well, on a Christian plan, as he put it, meant paying attention to what people need and providing it. If he'd been truly serving the community, he would have had a jackknife for the third man when he called for it.
So service leads to success. Providing value creates reward. It's not just about finding diamonds, but about actively serving your community's needs.
Exactly. It's a reciprocal thing. Nightingale echoed this too, drawing on Conwell. He said, you are at this moment standing in the middle of your own acre of diamonds. But prosperity comes from mutual exchange. You have to give value first. No man can get rich himself, Nightingale said, unless he enriches others.
That reframes wealth creation, doesn't it? It's not taking, it's contributing. Solving problems for people.
Absolutely. If you want more, provide more service, solve bigger problems, it's presented as a fundamental law. What you put out, you get back.
Okay, but this brings up that tricky subject, the idea that rich people must be dishonest. Conwell tackled that directly, didn't he?
He did, very forcefully. He knew people thought, oh, if he's got money, he must be crooked. And Conwell basically said, that's why you don't have any money, because you think like that.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty blunt. He made this frankly quite controversial claim that 98 out of 100 of the rich men of America are honest. That is why they are rich. His argument was that large-scale success requires trust. You can't build a big business, get investment, have loyal customers. If you're fundamentally dishonest, people won't stick with you.
So for him, honesty wasn't just morals, it was practical. A business necessity for long-term success.
That was his view. That enduring wealth, the kind that builds enterprises, is often built on a foundation of integrity and reliability. It's because people trust you that you can operate on a large scale. It counters the idea that wealth is always suspicious or hidden somewhere else. Sometimes it's built right here, through honest service and providing value.
It's definitely a different perspective. It circles back to that internal compass, that character.
Okay.
So we've talked about finding opportunity outside, but let's go back inside. To character, because pursuing big goals, facing challenges, that takes inner strength. And Brené Brown's work on vulnerability is fascinating here. It kind of flips the script on what strength means.
It really does. We tend to think vulnerability is weakness, something to hide. But Brown says vulnerability is the core of all emotions and feelings, period. If you feel anything, fear, joy, grief, love, you're being vulnerable.
So you can't avoid it if you want to feel, well, anything.
Pretty much. Trying to avoid vulnerability, she argues, is like walking away from the very thing that gives purpose and meaning to living. And here's the really counterintuitive part. She found vulnerability isn't just about the tough stuff like fear and shame. It's also the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity.
Wow, so all the good stuff comes from the place we try to avoid.
Seems like it. If you want deeper connections, clearer purpose, more creativity, vulnerability is the path.
Yeah.
It takes courage, obviously courage to face uncertainty, risk, emotional exposure. But that's where the magic happens, apparently.
But it's hard. What stops us? You mentioned shame.
Yeah, shame is the big blocker. Brown says shame gets its power from being unspeakable. It hates being talked about. It thrives in silence and secrecy. It loves perfectionists because if you're terrified of not being perfect, you'll keep quiet about your struggles.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do you fight it?
You talk about it, you name it, you share your story with people you trust. Language and story, she says, bring light to shame and destroy it. Just acknowledging it takes away its power.
Okay, so name the shame, but what about when you actually fail?
Yeah.
Or mess up? How do you bounce back from that feeling?
That's where shame resilience comes in. It's not about never feeling shame. It's about moving through it. It's the ability to say, okay, this hurts. This is really disappointing. Acknowledge the feeling, but then reconnect with your values. Like, okay, success isn't my core value here. Courage is. And I was courageous for even trying.
Ah, so you redefine the moment based on your values, not just the outcome.
Exactly. That resilience lets you show up and try again, instead of letting shame keep you stuck, afraid to risk failure. Knowing your values like courage or integrity helps you stand back up after you inevitably err and come up short, as she puts it.
That ties into what Seneca said too, doesn't it? About the importance of who you surround yourself with, knowing your own values.
Absolutely. Seneca, the Stoic, was very practical about this. He basically said, hang out with people who share your aims and values. He warned that even one friend who's maybe too into luxury or too greedy can weaken and soften us imperceptibly. You don't even notice it happening.
Like their rust rubbing off on you?
Yeah, that's his phrase. Their negativity, their different priorities, they can subtly drain your energy, distract you, make you question your own path. Especially, he says, because life is short and we waste enough time already changing our minds. Negative influences just slow you down more.
So how do you guard against that? Especially when you can't always choose everyone you interact with.
Well, that brings us back to Tony Robbins and values clarification. If you are absolutely crystal clear on what matters most to you, what your non-negotiables are, what you stand for, that clarity acts like a shield. It's your internal compass.
Okay.
When you know your values, decisions become simpler, like Robbins said, and you're less likely to be swayed by external pressures or people with different aims, as Seneca put it. That internal clarity protects your blueprint, keeps you focused, and builds that resilience you need to stay on track.
Okay, so we have this inner blueprint, conviction, values, resilience. Now, how do you get it out there? How do you communicate it effectively?
Let's go way back to the Greeks, Aristotle, and the whole art of rhetoric.
Right. Aristotle really systematized it. For him, rhetoric was all about finding the best ways to persuade in any given situation. And central to that was the enthymeme.
Enthymeme. Okay, what's a... Again, that sounds technical. It's basically a persuasive argument where one part is left unstated, implied. It relies on the audience filling in the gap based on their own belief, like saying, she's definitely qualified, she went to Harvard. The unstated part is people who went to Harvard are qualified.
Ah, so it connects with what the audience already thinks.
Yeah.
Makes them feel like they reached the conclusion themselves.
Exactly. Very powerful. But then you have Plato, through Socrates in the Gorgias dialogue, raising some serious questions about rhetoric.
He wasn't a fan.
He was wary. Socrates basically asked Gorgias, the orator, is your persuasion based on real knowledge of what's right and wrong, or just on creating belief without true understanding? He worried rhetoric could be like, junk food for the soul-pleasing, but not actually good for you.
So persuasion without truth is dangerous.
That was his concern. If it just appeals to what seems best or what people want to hear rather than what is truly good, it's not real power, it's just manipulation, pandering. He even argued that tyrants aren't truly powerful if their actions aren't based on wisdom because they don't actually achieve what's good.
That's a high bar for communication. It's not just technique, it's about morality.
Absolutely. And Quintilian, the Roman rhetorician, took this even further. He flat out said that the title orator should only belong to someone who is fundamentally good.
Wow. So you can't be a great speaker unless you're a good person.
That was Quintilian's stance. True rhetoric is impossible for any save a just and good man. Eloquence and virtue were tied together, rooted in knowing justice. He believed a good person speaking from knowledge and integrity would naturally be more persuasive because their words would ring true. Their character backed up their speech. He even pointed out that Plato wasn't against rhetoric itself, just the shallow, manipulative kind common in his day. True rhetoric, aligned with justice, was honorable.
This focus on purpose, truth, goodness. It connects surprisingly well to modern ideas too, doesn't it? Like Simon Sinek's Golden Circle.
It really does. Sinek's whole model is about starting with why. Why do you do what you do? What's your core belief? He argues that inspired leaders and companies communicate from the inside out. Here's why we exist, here's how we do it, and here's what we offer.
Instead of just starting with what.
Right. Most start with what. Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That clarity on your purpose, your fundamental belief, is what inspires trust and loyalty. It's what gives you the right or ability to inspire. Think of Apple. They sell a why of challenging the status quo, not just computers.
So that why connects directly back to the purpose and truth the ancients were talking about. Without it, your words might be hollow.
Exactly. Whether it's Aristotle's Emphymes, Plato's demand for knowledge, Quintilian's virtuous orator, or Sinek's start with why, the core message seems consistent. Effective, inspiring communication needs a solid foundation of purpose and authenticity. It's not just about sounding good.
Okay, so you've got your why, your purpose is clear. But how you say it matters too, right?
Yeah.
The style, the delivery. Quintilian had advice on that too.
Oh, yeah. Very practical advice. He said, clearness is the first virtue of eloquence. Be clear. Don't be obscure. And adapt to your audience. He literally said teachers should stoop to his pupils' level. Adjust your language so they understand. Don't make them struggle to reach you.
No jargon, basically.
Right. And he warned against affectation, using overly fancy or complex language. He thought that often showed weakness, like you were trying too hard to cover up a lack of substance. The goal is transparent communication, making complex ideas seem simple, not showing off how smart you are.
That makes sense. Connect, don't just impress. Cicero added something else too, didn't he? Sagacity.
Yes, sagacity, which is like shrewdness, practical wisdom, good judgment. Cicero thought this was maybe even more important than just knowing stuff. He said prudence without learning could achieve more than learning without prudence. Meaning, you need the wisdom to adapt your message to the specific circumstances of time and place and to the persons involved. It's about understanding the context, reading the room, knowing what to say, how to say it, and when to say it for maximum impact. It's that intuitive feel for the situation.
So it's street smarts for speakers. Knowing your audience and the moment.
Kind of, yeah. It's a deep understanding of human nature and the specific context. And this leads right into using stories and emotion. Conwell, the Acres of Diamonds guy, knew this well. He observed that people are more impressed by illustrations than by argument. A good story sticks with you. It makes an idea relatable, bypasses skepticism. Elie Wiesel, talking about the Holocaust, made a similar point, didn't he?
He said no novel could capture the reality, the dark beauty of a child's actual words about surviving. The personal story, the lived experience, has a unique power.
It does. It connects on a different level. And Quintilian knew the power of emotion, too. He said eloquence is often greatest in emotional appeals. A good orator needs to be able to tap into feelings, anger, pity, hope, even humor.
So it's not just logic. You need to engage the heart.
Definitely. Those emotional appeals, used responsibly, are what can really move people, turn agreement into action, make them feel the importance of the issue.
This all seems to point towards authenticity, being relatable,
Yeah.
like Kurt Vonnegut's style.
Exactly. Vonnegut was brilliant, but also playful, clear, no jargon. He connected with everyone. Remember his advice, nobody cares how smart you are. Just communicate clearly, authentically, be yourself.
Yeah, and that authenticity is what gave Elie Wiesel's voice such power too, right? His simple statement, "I've seen, I was there."
Profoundly powerful. That direct, honest testimony rooted in lived experience carries immense moral weight. It's not about clever rhetoric, it's about bearing witness to truth. That kind of authenticity can cut through indifference and inspire action in a way few other things can.
So now let's see how this all comes together to actually change things, to challenge injustice. Elizabeth Cady Stanton's Declaration of Sentiments is such a prime example. She didn't just write a complaint, she did something much bolder.
She absolutely did. In 1848 at Seneca Falls, she deliberately took the language of the U.S. Declaration of Independence and repurposed it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal. That was radical.
Using their own foundational text against the status quo.
Precisely. She then listed grievances, just like the original declaration, but focusing on women's issues. Denied education, all colleges closed against her, subordinate roles, different moral standards. It was a systematic takedown of the inequalities women faced.
And she demanded immediate admission to all the rights and privileges of citizenship. It wasn't asking nicely, it was a demand based on founding principles.
Exactly. It was a foundational text for women's rights, using the language of American liberty itself to expose the hypocrisy. It showed how powerful words can be when they reframe an issue using deeply held cultural values. It gave a clear voice, a powerful why to a movement.
And speaking of exposing hypocrisy, Frederick Douglass, his speech, "What to the slave is the 4th of July?" Wow, talk about confronting a nation with its contradictions.
An absolutely searing indictment, delivered deliberately around the 4th of July celebrations. He looked at his mostly white audience and said, essentially, your celebrations are a sham while my people are enslaved. He called out the flagrant inconsistency of boasting about liberty while upholding slavery.
He didn't hold back, especially about the fugitive slave law.
No, he detailed how that law made the entire country complicit. It meant even free states like New York were no different from Virginia for slave catchers. Everyone's liberty was in peril. He highlighted the irony celebrating freedom, welcoming refugees from tyranny abroad, while hunting down fugitives within your own borders.
Comparing American slaveholders to the tyrants of Russia and Austria.
Yeah, calling out the hypocrisy on a global scale. His words were designed to shock, to force a moral reckoning. The clarity, the logic, the moral outrage, it's incredibly powerful even today.
And then, bringing a different kind of power, a vision of hope, we have Martin Luther King Jr. and his "I Have a Dream" speech.
King's speech offered a transformative vision. He used these incredibly powerful metaphors, turning the jangling discords into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. He painted pictures people could see and feel.
Like Mississippi becoming an oasis of freedom and justice.
Exactly. Vivid imagery. And of course, the deeply personal dream for his children judged by character, not color. That resonated universally. He connected the struggle to America's founding ideals, framing it as fulfilling the nation's promise.
So, while Douglass exposed the hypocrisy, King painted the picture of what could be if that hypocrisy was overcome.
Right. It wasn't just a protest against injustice. It was an articulation of a positive shared future. That combination of moral clarity and aspirational vision mobilized millions and became a catalyst for real change. It gave people something to strive for, not just against.
These leaders also helped redefine what leadership even means, didn't they?
Yeah.
Moving it beyond just having power or money, like Theodore Roosevelt.
Roosevelt had that famous phrase, speak softly and carry a big stick. But it wasn't about being a bully. The idea was to use America's strength, the big stick, to ensure justice and peace, not just to threaten, to show you could defend your principles if needed.
Okay. And domestically.
Domestically, he warned against becoming a republic of classes. He pushed for all men up, not some men down. His vision was about broad progress, equal opportunity, trying to bridge divides, not just helping one group get ahead. leadership as collective uplift.
And Ruth Bader Ginsburg represented a different kind of leadership, right?
Yeah.
More strategic, long-term, working within the system.
Very much so. Her whole judicial approach was about measured motions. She avoided pushing for huge, sudden changes in law because she felt they might be unstable or provoke backlash. She preferred incremental steps, building precedent carefully over time.
Playing the long game, essentially.
Exactly. She worked steadily to ensure women were recognized as full members of the class people, fighting for autonomy, dignity, access, like challenging rules against pregnant officers or institutions that excluded women. She believed in dialogue, in bringing the public and other branches of government along, ensuring the changes would stick. It was leadership through patience, strategy, and deep understanding of the legal system.
Which shows that change doesn't always have to be loud declarations. It can be persistent, careful work. This makes me think back to Socrates again, on what government is even for.
Right. Socrates argued that true political leadership isn't about grabbing power or pleasing the crowd. It's about aiming for the good of the citizens, in a deep sense, their moral well-being, the health of the community. He thought tyrants lacked real power because they acted from ignorance, mistaking their own desires for what was truly beneficial.
So true leadership requires wisdom, aiming for justice and moderation.
That was his view, which makes Conwell's take on holding office in America even more interesting, almost shocking.
What did he say?
He basically said that in a country where the people rule, holding office is prima facie evidence of littleness, because the office holder is just the servant of the people, and the servant can't be greater than the master.
Wow, that flips the script entirely. Power resides with the people, so leaders should be humble servants.
That's the implication. It's a radical call for humility in public service, seeing it as a duty, not a path to personal power or glory.
So all these different threads seem to lead towards a broader idea of responsible citizenship, maybe even selflessness, as the real engine of progress.
I think so. Kurt Vonnegut, for example, he celebrated the unselfishness and bravery of everyday heroes like volunteer firefighters. He kept saying, we don't need smarter people, we just need to be less selfish. Follow the golden rule. Do unto others. It's that simple, yet that hard.
It puts the responsibility squarely back on us as individuals. Like Paul Hawken saying, make this world a better place. Or Anna Quindlen telling graduates, basically, don't always listen to your elders if they're wrong.
Yeah. Quinlan's point was powerful challenge flawed wisdom, even from people you love, because progress sometimes requires a new perspective. We have to take responsibility for fixing the mistakes of the past.
And Ursula K. Le Guin had that message for women too, right? About forging their own path.
Yes. She encouraged women not just to fight the existing power structures on their own terms, but to create new ways of being, rooted in different values, values often ignored by the mainstream macho man ideal, to build influence from the margins on their own terms. It all comes back to individual agency, clarifying your own values, and acting with purpose and integrity to contribute, even in small ways. #outro.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground today. From like the deep inner workings of our own thoughts and finding those hidden opportunities around us, all the way to how words can ignite movements and how leaders have fought for justice.
And what seems to tie it all together, whether you're talking personal success or societal change, is this core set of things.
Right.
Having a clear why, that sense of purpose. Having the courage to be vulnerable, to be resilient, understanding people, context, that sagacity Cicero talked about.
Yeah.
And then just the commitment to act, to speak with integrity. That idea, we become what we think about, seems to run through everything.
It really does. And thinking about all these voices, philosophers, activists, speakers, judges, it shows that influence isn't just for the famous or powerful. It's something potentially within all of us. You are, right now, as Nightingale said, standing in your own acre of diamonds. The potential is there.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Reflecting on all this, what's one small, consistent action you could take? Something rooted in your values, aimed at meeting a real need you see around you. How can you start digging in your own acre of diamonds, maybe uncovering an opportunity you've overlooked? How can you use your voice, your unique perspective for something that matters? Because really, one person, one idea, one purposeful action, that can be enough to start changing the world, starting right where you are.